by having an attachment to it regularly, by making sure that you don't leave off the obligatory and that you indulge the gift of an attachment to it outside of the obligatory if you want to stay Muslim, if you want your family to remain upon Islam, if you want the next generation to remain upon Islam. There is nothing that is greater that you could be doing for your kids than bringing them with you to the masjid and exposing them to that reality on a regular basis. I leave you with two narrations because of the time, and I know that we're fatigued these days because of these last days of Ramadan. SubhanAllah, I was looking at the rasa'il, the letters between Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Salman al-Farisi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. They were brothers. The Prophet ﷺ paired them off. When Salman radiallahu ta'ala anhu came from Persia and went through his deep struggles to convert to Islam, he was put in the home of his brother Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and they became lifelong brothers. And they used to write these letters to each other. Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu in Palestine, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate it. And Salman al-Farisi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, sometime in Iraq, sometime back in Medina. And they write these letters to each other in their old age. And of those messages they send to each other are nasa'ih, are advices. And one of the advices that Salman radiallahu ta'ala anhu wrote to Abi Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and it's an authentic narration. قال يا أخي, O my dear brother, عليك بالمسجد. Upon you is to stay connected to the masjid. فالزمه. Attach yourself to it. فإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول المسجد بيت كل تقي وفي رواية المسجد بيت كل مؤمن. I heard the Prophet ﷺ say that the masjid is the home of every pious person. And in one narration, the masjid is the home of every believer. It's your home. When you abandon it, you become spiritually homeless. And no, Jum'ah is not enough. It's really not enough to generate that spirituality and to maintain that spirituality. You become spiritually homeless when you abandon it. Every single person has to have this as a place. SubhanAllah, even when the Prophet ﷺ would come back from a safar, when he'd come back from a journey, when he'd come back from travel, before he entered into his actual home, he'd go to the masjid and pray 2 rak'ahs. This is your home. This is your attachment. This is the place where you will continue to generate what you've been trying to find in Ramadan. In another narration, also an authentic narration, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-masjidu baytu kulli taqi. That masjid is the home of every person of taqwa, of every person of God consciousness. وَتَكَفَّلَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ كَانَ الْمَسْجِدُ بَيْتَهُ بِالرَّوْحِ وَالرَّحْمَةِ. And Allah Azza wa Jal has taken it upon Himself to guarantee for the one whose home is the masjid comfort, tranquility, mercy. And when will you need that most? وَالْجَوَازِ عَلَى الصِّرَاطِ إِلَى رِضْوَانِ اللَّهِ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will guarantee for the one who made the masjid his home safe passage over the sirat until he reaches the pleasure of Allah, until he reaches his place of Jannah. I want you to think about all of this. Ibn Mas'ud says, you want to die Muslim? Stay in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, you want safe passage over the sirat when people will be pulled off of the path that takes a person to Jannah? Attach yourself to the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, you want safe passage to get into Jannah? Then ask yourself how many times you are entering into this masjid seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is your home. And of all the resolutions that we're making after Ramadan, I plead with each and every single one of you to increase your attendance in the masjid on a regular basis. If you can come at least once a day, keep it in your mind that I have to have some attachment to it. Just Fajr, just Isha, whatever it is, some sort of attachment to it. Then do so. And the more that you attach yourself, the more reward will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. SubhanAllah, when you look at the shaded under the throne of Allah on the Day of Judgment, one of those is a person whose heart is attached to the masjid. His heart is attached to the masjid. And what does a person whose heart being attached to the masjid look like? They're thinking about attending the masjid. They're thinking about bringing life to the masjid with programming. They're thinking about volunteering in the masjid. They're thinking about building the masjid. They're thinking about cleaning the masjid. They're thinking constantly about the masjid. It's central to them, the way that a person tries to decorate their home and keep their home in order. They're thinking about the masjid constantly. When they get sick, how can I get back to the masjid? When they're not feeling well, how can I get back to the masjid? When they're traveling, when can I get back to the masjid? It becomes a home truly in your heart and for your heart. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the attachment of the qalb, the attachment of the heart to it. And that's why on the Day of Judgment you could hope to be amongst those